If you turn with me to Matthew chapter 9 and verse 27, it says, as Jesus went on from there, 2 blind men followed him, calling, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." Son of David. All right. When you get in your New Testament, you're going to find out that this phrase, son of, means different things. Right? We talk about Jesus being the Son of Man and the Son of God. And when you read son of, you need to think in terms of having the same characteristics as. Right? Jesus had the same characteristics of man. He was flesh and blood. He was man. He was also God. We use it, the New Testament uses it some really interesting ways. Do you remember James and John? Jesus one time calls them the sons of thunder. Okay. You know, big noise. They wanted to wipe out a whole Samaritan village. He called them sons of thunder. Barnabas. Barnabas, in the New Testament, was called the son of encouragement. Right? That was his characteristic. He was encouraging. The son of David. Now, this could mean just the literal in the lineage of David. Right? Because Jesus was from the lineage of David. Matthew gave us that lineage at the very beginning of this book. But when these 2 blind men are calling to Jesus, they chose to use this phrase, "Son of David, have mercy on us." What were they thinking? When they thought of the Son of David, when they thought of the promise of the kingdom of David, what were they thinking? I mean, if Jesus was the Messiah, he was going to be the son of David, and he was going to bring back the glory of David's empire, right? The kingdom of Solomon, the kingdom of David, the glory of Israel. Very militaristic. You remember David? Okay. Interesting fellow. Very interesting fellow. He's the one that wanted to build the temple, but God wouldn't let him because too much blood on his hands. Right? Do you remember that? He killed too many people. God didn't let him build the temple. David stored up the materials. Solomon built it. All right. Of all the things they could have called Jesus, these 2 blind men picked out the Son of David. They must have had some idea that Jesus was going to do some kind of restoration of the kingdom of David. All right? Well, this gets kind of confusing here. It says here, when he had gone indoors, the blind men came to him, and he asked them, "Do you believe that I'm able to do this?" What kind of question is that? Hey, do you remember when David healed the blind people? Do you remember when David raised the dead? Do you remember when David fed the people with just a couple fish? You remember those stories at all? No, you don't remember because they're not in there, right? David never worked a miracle. And these guys chose to call Jesus the Son of David, and they came to ask him to heal their blindness. Does that fit at all? Jesus seemed to be a little confused about it. He asked him, Do you believe I can do this? When David didn't do this, right? And they said, of course, "Yes, Lord," they replied. Then he touched their eyes and said, "According to your faith will it be done to you," and their sight was restored. Jesus warned them sternly. It's a great word, sternly. We use it all the time, don't we? No, we don't. We don't use it very sternly. "See that no one knows about this." So they went out and they were quiet and didn't tell anybody what happened at all. Unless, of course, you have one of the newer translations that says they went out and told everybody, which is what They did. Okay. These guys, they wanted sight, right? Have you ever met a blind person that didn't want to be able to see? No. What they wanted from Jesus was sight. They wanted it from Jesus because they thought that he was going to be some kind of big political leader and there's something special about him. They didn't really care. All they know is they wanted sight, and so they came to Jesus, and he healed them and asked them to do one thing. All I asked him to. And he asked him really nicely. That's not what it says. He asked them very sternly. He sternly warned them, don't tell anybody about this. But they were going to do Jesus a favor, weren't they? They were going to do Jesus a big favor. They went out and told everybody. Everybody. Now, why did Jesus not want these guys to say anything? Well, maybe it had to do with the Son of David thing. Right? Do you remember earlier in Matthew, back in the last chapter, when the guy on the other side of the Sea of Galilee, remember Legion? And he wanted to go with Jesus. He said, no, go home and tell people. Go tell them how much God's love has meant to you. Tell them how much God has done for you. What did he tell these two guys to do? Don't tell anybody. Okay. All right, things are getting kind of strange for Jesus. Then it gets worse. Look at this next story. Okay? It says, while they were going out, a man who was demon-possessed and could not talk was brought to Jesus, and when the demon was driven out, the man who had been dumb spoke. The crowd was amazed and said, nothing like this has ever been seen in Israel. But the religious people had the answer. Here's the answer. The Pharisee said, it's by the prince of demons that he drives out demons. We can explain this. Yeah, that was pretty amazing. That guy couldn't speak and now he can speak. Yeah, but you know what? Jesus is Satan himself. It's pretty straightforward. You've never seen that because Satan's never been around, but now Jesus is here, and Satan himself can drive out demons, and that pretty much explains it all, and we've got it all figured out. Wow. Wow. You remember one of the most scary passages in the New Testament talks about the unforgivable sin? You know what I'm talking about? Jesus said there's only one sin that can't be forgiven. This is it. When you call what's done by the Spirit done by evil, you can't win. And here is where it's come to with the religious people. They have got Jesus boxed in. He's Satan himself. Okay. The text says, Jesus went through all the towns and villages, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the good news of the kingdom and healing every kind of disease and sickness. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field. And guess what's going to happen in chapter 10? He's going to send out workers. Okay, but first we got to deal with the end of chapter 9. How are things going with the religious folks? Okay, it's gone from bad to worse. Right? But Jesus still goes on with his ministry, and now he's visiting these towns and these little synagogues. And it may be just Saturday to Saturday snapshots. You know, you see him out there speaking at the synagogue. He may be still doing carpentry work. We don't know. But he sees something out there. And the text says something that I think is fascinating. That Jesus saw the crowds and he had compassion for them. Compassion. Some feeling. A feeling of commonness. He hurt for them. Why did he hurt for them? He said they were harassed and helpless. And then he uses this analogy of sheep with a shepherd. Okay, and we're pretty familiar with that. We like that. We know the sheep don't do things well themselves, and the shepherd pretty much takes care of all of them. Does this remind you of David at all? Remember? Do you remember Psalm 23? The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod, thy staff, they comfort me. Prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Son of David, have mercy on us. They were harassed. You ever been harassed? All right. Here's the mental picture. Okay, you're a pack of wild dogs, and you got this herd of sheep, right? What do? Well, you harass them. You attack them from this side, and you attack them from that side, and you attack them from that side over there. And they don't know which way to go, and they don't know what to do. And you can single them out, and you can kill them. How do you guys like being wild dogs? What do the sheep feel like? Helpless. All right. Jesus is talking to the children of Israel. He's going into their synagogues. He's seeing them in crowds. And you know what they're like? They're like sheep without a shepherd. They're harassed and they're helpless. Oh, no, wait a minute. Jesus, wait. They had Moses, right? They had Moses. They have the law. They've got teachers, don't they? They've got rabbis. They've got the rulers of the synagogues. They've got the Pharisees. They've got the Sanhedrin. They've got all that good religious stuff. How in the world can they feel harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd? I'll give you another thought, something to chew on. Is it possible this is the first time God figured this out? Now think about it. God has become flesh. And he was raised in the religious stuff there in Nazareth. And he went to temple. He went to the feasts. He experienced all that. He knew the law. He saw how they were raised. He saw the religious leaders. And now, as that in his background, he looks at the people and says, I hurt for them. They're harassed. And they're helpless. Do you think that's the first time that God's figured that out? What is wrong? Why don't these people feel loved? Why don't these people feel secure? Why don't they write like David, the Lord is my shepherd? Jesus said, I have compassion for them. I hurt for them. They're like sheep without a shepherd, they don't know which way to go. They know that there's danger every which direction. They don't know which way to go. They've got all that religious stuff. They've got the law. They've got the teachers. They've got the Pharisees. They've got all that stuff, and they are lost. And he turns to his disciples and says, man, there's a harvest out there. The harvest is huge, but there's not enough workers. Pray to the Lord of harvest that He'd send workers, and then He's going to send out the 12, and we're going to see the mess they make. Okay. Is this the first time that God, on a feeling level, has come to understand the plight of those people with those religious leaders? Maybe. Kind of looks that way in your text, doesn't it? He looked at them, he saw them, and he felt compassion for them. Did you not feel it before? Did you not see it before? Did you not understand it before? You know that God understands some things about your life because He experienced some things about your life when He became flesh. You know that, don't you? That you can talk to God about how you feel because He has felt some of those things. That God can have compassion, empathy, because He has felt some of those feelings. What about you? You feel harassed? You feel helpless? Are you looking for a shepherd? Because there's a shepherd looking for you. There's a shepherd out there looking for you to give you guidance, to take away that feeling of being in danger and in pain all the way around. That helpless feeling where you don't know which way to go and you don't know who to take your concerns to. He wants to take that. The Lord is my shepherd. Son of David, have mercy on us. Have mercy on us. Be our shepherd. When you understand that He understands how you feel, that He experienced that compassion for these people because He was there with them and saw them being harassed and helpless, that He understands that for you and He's looking to be your shepherd. He wants, above everything, for you not to have those feelings. He wants for you to feel loved and protected by your shepherd, that somebody is willing to give their life for you to take care of your well-being. That's what He wants you to have. And you can turn to religious stuff and you're not going to get there. You can turn to Jesus. And He said, I'll be your shepherd. I'll lay down my life for the sheep. This morning, we're going to remember that sacrifice. The fact that He laid down His life for us. And that He can feel and understand because He became flesh. We're going to take a little bit of bread and we're going to remember. We're going to remember that He experienced being human. We're going to take a little bit of juice and going to remember that He let His blood pour out for our sins. So we don't feel harassed anymore. So we don't feel helpless. So we can know how much the shepherd cares about us.